What's going on, guys? Welcome to the weekly technicals live session for January 27th, 2019, and we are looking at the economic calendar here for this upcoming week. And Monday we have some Euro and GBP news, both for New York session, so potential trade set up tomorrow morning for both Euro and potentially GBP, which we'll talk about that when we get to the charts. And for Tuesday, we have some dollar index news for New York session as well. So, and I primarily want to be focused on trading New York session this week as well. So let's see, we have Wednesday, we do have FOMC, and we do have NFP this week too. Yeah, so ideally I just want to be trading this week, Monday and Tuesday, maybe Thursday, but probably not because it will be ahead of NFP. So any trades I take this week will probably be Monday and Tuesday. Outside of that, probably won't be doing much in the markets because we do have FOMC and NFP. So just be cautious of that if you guys are taking place in any trade setups or anything like that. Now, before NFP, we do have a bunch of dollar index news here for New York session again. So could definitely see a pretty big week, considering that we do have, a good bit of news events here. So, be cautious of that, and, any potential opportunities, I would recommend taking them, Monday and Tuesday, so early on in the week. Once Wednesday comes around with FOMC, it's just going to be, the market can get a little, out of whack, I guess. So just be cautious of that. Ideally, I'd try to be out of any trades by New York session on Wednesday here. But ideally, just don't take any trades after Tuesday. So that's kind of how I'll be playing it this week. Now, going into the following week will be the first week of February, so we do have a good bit of dollar index news here the following Wednesday. So there's no crazy like FOMC or NFP, so that'll all be behind us, and I think we'll see some. This could really set the stage this week here for some potential bigger or larger moves, going into February, March. So that's kind of how I'm going to be playing it. I'm not going to be focusing on, kind of finding, numerous opportunities for trades this week. I'll be focused more so on that the following week after NFP and FOMC. So ideally, I'll just be focused on, the first 2 days of the week, and then I'll pretty much be flat and just observe, for the remainder of the week. So with that being said, let's go ahead and we'll jump into the technical portion of this video, and we are looking at dollar index. So I kind of made a few notations on the chart just to kind of make it a little easier for you guys to maybe understand as well, and just so all the topics are kind of right here in front of us. And looking at this, from last week's trading, to be honest, I was anticipating a run above 97 big figure, which was ultimately, going to, give me the confirmation that they would be heading for 97.70. Now, Friday we had a pretty deep rejection here, so something that I'm anticipating, if they are going to continue lower, would be come back up, retest 96 big figure here, and then sell off. Take us below the monthly support here, because there's a lot of liquidity now resting below here as well as here. And then we have equal lows here, and then we also have equal lows here. So there's a lot of liquidity below the market. Now, even though we do have these equal highs up here, it's not showing us a willingness to make higher highs. So, with that being said, we have to assume that price is going to seek the liquidity below the market. All right, so if we can, come up here, London session tonight, for example, and trade into this 96 big figure. So today's Sunday, January 27th. Tonight for London session, so tomorrow, the 28th of January, if we can push up and trade up into 96 big figure, and then we start rejecting from there, I would be anticipating a run on this low here. So that would mean, dollar index could trade lower, putting us on the bullish side for foreign currency. So we could find potential buy setups in, foreign currency. So that's really, what I'm going to be focused on mainly, is just seeing if we can come up back to this level, 96 big figure, retest it, show some resistance here, so bearish price action on the 5 or 15 minute time frame. We want to see price rejecting this level and start to push lower. Then we should have a relatively quick move to get below here as well as here, because we've got a lot of liquidity built up below. So it doesn't mean that they're not going to trade back up to 97.70 or even 97 big figure here, but it's not necessarily what I think is going to happen right now. So I think they're going to start pushing for the liquidity below the market. But if we do, for example, if we, come up, retest this level, and then we come down here and we fail to make a lower low here, they could come back up, trade back into the 96 big figure area, right? Kind of build the idea that this market's not going lower and it's going to potentially trade higher, and then all of a sudden sink it again, and then they start pushing it up. So, you have to consider that we are still in this consolidation here, and with this being a week of NFP and FOMC, we could see some pretty crazy price action. So to avoid being in the market, with that, I would like to just see, between Monday and Tuesday, can we show resistance at this 96 big figure and see dollar index sell off? So I don't even care if it breaks this low. I'm just looking for it to, trade anywhere from like 25 to 50 pips on the downside, right? And that would give me, a tradable opportunity for foreign currency. So again, my analysis would be to expect lower prices on dollar index, but while I'm looking for a potential trade setup, it doesn't have to break below this low, right? As long as it, rejects the level I'm looking for and the pair that I'm trading. So if it's EURUSD, for example, it trades into support at the same time and shows, strength. At that point, I can go long foreign currency with the anticipation of dollar index rejecting, and it only has to move, like I said, 25, 50 pips, and that's enough for a tradable setup. So it can just reject a little bit, hold this low, still remain in the consolidation, so just because I think it's going to go lower doesn't necessarily mean that I'm always holding the trade or anything like that until, we get down below this level, for example, because primarily I'm an intraday trader, right? So I'm not usually looking to stay in the market for several days at a time. So I'm just looking for like 1 day's trading, maybe, get out and then get back in the next day. And, that could be 2 daily candles, and that may not take us below this low. It may be 4 or 5 daily candles that take us below this low. So, don't always think that you have to like wait for, you can find tradable setups, before the actual confirmation of lower prices or higher prices is there. So I just wanted to touch on that, briefly. But again, for dollar index, I want to see them reject from here, start pushing lower. Now, if we start pushing higher and we get back above here, which is the 96.70 level, this is Thursday's high. If we get back above here, then we're probably going to reach for 97 big figure and then 97.70. Okay, but based on what, I've kind of explained, there hasn't been any willingness to make a higher high yet. So if anything, I think they're going to start targeting some of the liquidity below the market, right? It's really going to be hinged on, can we get below this monthly support? But again, if we do reject this level, we can find a tradable opportunity from the rejection here and be in the market while this down move is happening, whether or not they break the low or not. So that's how I'll be looking at dollar index. And for euro dollar, similar idea, right? So we got below our 1.13 big figure here, which is what we were targeting initially last week. And with a continuation, we were expecting this 1.1270 level. Thursday, we formed the low after running the liquidity here at 1.13 big figure, pushed all the way back up. So with the anticipation that dollar index is going to start pushing lower, we could start seeing this thing trade up into 1450, and then if we really start, I don't know why I keep right clicking on the screen, if we can show some real strength above 1.1450, so we're getting big body bullish candles just like this, then we're going to anticipate a run on the daily liquidity here at 1.1570, and then we've also got more daily liquidity here at 1.16 big figure to 1620. So we got quite a bit of range on the upside to go if they are in fact going to start taking this thing higher. Now if they start just rejecting right out the gate early on in the week, and they start getting back below 1.13 big figure, then you can short it down to 1.1270. That's a 30 pip opportunity, right? And then if we get below 1270 and we're holding below there, then you can short it down to 1.1220, right? That's how I'd be playing it on the downside. But I'm not necessarily thinking that they're going to give back all of Friday's range and then start pushing it lower again. I mean, we'll see. Just like how dollar index, we're kind of trapped in the consolidation here. So it's hard to tell whether or not they are going to go one way or the other, because they constantly push it lower and then they'll kind of give back all that range, and that's just typical for a consolidation. You can see here, big rejection, lower low formed, gave it all back, right? So it's there's opportunities within this. It's just they're not always the biggest in terms of pips or anything like that, because you have to be more cautious in terms of where your entries are going to be. You want to have that daily bias in mind. So if they're going to if you're within a consolidation and you're expecting tomorrow to be a bullish day, then you're going to have to find supporting ideas for a buy setup, right? You're going to want to have your confirmation, break of structure, whatever your entry pattern is, but you have to go into the market with the anticipation of either you're looking for a higher day or a lower day, right? So just like for dollar index, I want to see it kind of trade up into that level and start kind of selling off. It doesn't have to break that low we were talking about, but it can just have some sort of a rejection. For this, we're around 1.14 big figure, so we can start showing, I'd like to see them hold above here at 1.14 big figure and start getting up into the 1.1450s. So if we're showing strength, again, that's like a 50 pip opportunity there, from 14 big figure to 1450. And again, I'd like to see that take place between Monday and Tuesday early on in the week, and capture those 50 pips, be out of the market before FOMC and NFP even happen. And then from there, if we're still showing strength, they can use like FOMC and NFP, for example, to get a continuation higher and take us above the daily liquidity here at 1570, and then ultimately above 1.16 big figure. So we could really see the week close, somewheres above. Why do I keep doing that? We could really see the week close somewhere above 1.1570, which could really set the stage for higher prices in February. So, I'm not focused on, kind of taking the position and holding it all the way above 1570, because it can just as well reject 1450 and start trading lower. So that's why I'm just looking for that 50 pips. And then once we get above the daily liquidity, then there'll be a bigger range, and we could potentially target from 16 big figure up to 1750, 18 big figure, and we've got a lot of liquidity built up back here as well. So that's pretty much what I'll be looking at for euro dollar, while we're in the consolidation, and then once we actually get out of the consolidation, whether that be higher or lower. But yeah, obviously for early on in the week, my expectations are to see 1.1450 at least traded to, and capture that in terms of a buy-in opportunity with the expectations of dollar selling off a bit, and give me that 50 pips. So that's pretty much the only setup or opportunity that I'll be looking at, and if that unfolds, that's what I'll take action on. So let's look at GBPUSD, and I cleaned up my charts a bit, as you guys can see. So I had this daily liquidity here marked out, and we also had the daily liquidity here marked out at 1.30 big figure. Obviously we're above all that now, so I cleared it off and put the next levels of daily liquidity. So we've got 1.3250 here on the upside, and we've also got 1.3305 on the upside. So you guys can see the expansion we're having for British pound. I mean, we're really getting some significant strength. So I would be looking for these levels to kind of get tapped into early on in the week. I don't necessarily think they're going to come all the way back down to 1.30 big figure. Now, if they do, in terms of a daily perspective, this would be a logical area to buy it at. So, for example, if it trades to 1.30 big figure, potential, you could buy it and use it as a swing trade to take you back up into 1.3250 and 33 big figure, capitalizing on 200 to 300 pips. So that's how I'll play it. If we get down to 1.30 big figure, it'll be a swing trade for me back up into these levels. But on an intraday, daily basis, what I'll be looking at is just a continued expansion above 3250 and 33 big figure. We can probably get that early on in the week, Monday, Tuesday, for example, and then say they use FOMC and NFP to reject it, and then they trade us back into this level, close the week here, going into February, optimal buying opportunity, and then we take it higher. Just an idea, but something that could happen. But early on in the week, I would kind of expect continuation higher, especially based on how Friday's candle closed. It looks like we've got a lot of strength in the market, so those will be the upside targets. And obviously if we get above those, we do have 1.3350, 34 big figure. We got a lot of liquidity built up above here as well, so we will see what we get for that. But again, I'm not necessarily trading this pair right now, more focused on euro dollar, but we definitely could see some higher prices on this. So if you guys are participating in this, then that's kind of my thoughts on it. Alright, so let's look at Euro GBP, and this thing has been extremely weak. So we've definitely seen a massive rejection on Euro GBP. We've gotten below the liquidity here at 86.50. We've also tapped into 86.20. We've left relative equal lows here. So obviously we're going to be looking for a continuation lower. Now they have had a pretty significant consecutive down days. So we could see, a retracement. It doesn't have to be all the way, up into these levels here, but, we could see a little solid retracement, potentially up into the 86, 86.80 here. Where is it? 86.80 to really about 87 big figure. So if we get up into those levels and we can really start showing some resistance, then I'll be looking for, again, a continuation lower to clear out these equal lows at 86.20, and then from there I'll be seeing if we can get a continuation below these equal lows down at 83 big figure. So that's about 300 pips. But if we really start breaking out of this range here, then that could be a relatively optimal swing trade for Euro GBP, which could really cause some, again, either weakness on Euro or significant strength on British pound. So we'll see how that plays out. But nonetheless, this thing has been very weak. So this is more than likely going to cause some pretty nice volatility in both Euro and cable. So I mean, I primarily trade those pairs, but if you don't trade them, I'd kind of recommend looking into them, a bit, at least over the next 2 months or so, and just kind of see how their price action is behaving based on, what this chart as well as, dollar index is doing, for example. But overall, I think, if we get below the range here, for this 86.20 level, but we haven't closed below it yet. You see how we've had like these big bearish candles? I'd want to see a continuation lower, with further bearish candles closing below here. So that's why I said we could see a little retracement, and then we could see the continuation from there. And once we get below here, if we're showing a continuation, then we can look for a retest of 86.20, and we could see them start really expanding for the 83 big figure down here, because we've got a lot of liquidity built up below here. Think about all the people who bought the market on this ride up. I believe we've talked about this before, but it's a 1,000 pip move, and the market's all the way down here at the bottom of this range yet. So I wouldn't expect them to want to pull back and go all the way higher while we're already at the bottom. It would make much more sense for them to continue lower here, and then we've also got all this liquidity below here. There's a lot of liquidity below this market, and I think with us being so close to the bottom of the range here, we could definitely see a relatively large expansion to the downside for Euro GBP. So that's pretty much all I got. We can cover dollar CAD as well really quickly. So if you look at dollar CAD, after this sell-off here, we pushed back up, and then we had a huge rejection on Friday. So with this, we've got liquidity resting here, and we've got all this liquidity built up for everyone that's been buying on this up move. So we could start to see dollar CAD really start trading back into these like 1.3150s, the 1.31 big figure, and start seeing some weakness from this. So I was thinking Friday initially when we took that trade that we were going to get a little bit of an expansion up to the 34 big figure, and we just ended up rejecting that level. So when we shorted it on to mitigate the loss of the buy, and we ended up shorting it, I was really only looking for a slight retracement into like 1.33 big figure, and I was pretty surprised by Friday's candle nonetheless, because I wasn't expecting them to reject all this and kind of give all that range back. So with that being said, I do think that we could see some weaker prices here on dollar CAD again, in line with our potential dollar index having kind of a sell-off. So we'll see kind of how it performs, but again, I will be primarily focused on both euro and cable in terms of my pairs to trade. I know we did kind of move to dollar CAD last week for a bit, but that was just because we had ECB for euro dollar, so I just wanted to take any trades in something with a little less risk, that we weren't participating in that type of news event. So that is really all I have for you guys today. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. If you guys have any questions, then just feel free to post them in that chat box right now, and I will answer them for you. And I have like 20 to 30 minutes or so I can stay here for a bit and answer questions if you guys have any.